Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. How are you enjoying your day so far? And with the CDL fast approaching, the question has been raised, if there's going to be another launch weekend, are the matchups effectively going to be rigged for storylines as they were last season? The OpTic Chicago, the most recent podcast, they were talking about at quite some length the fact that the Minnesota launch weekends last time around, their matchups were effectively decided in advance because of the storylines they would create. And storylines they did indeed create. That's beneficial for the fan side, maybe for the CDL more generally, but what balance should there be with competitive integrity? I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you were new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. This then from Dashy yesterday, landed in Texas. Someone get me in a CDL ASAP. So Dashy I think moved out there yesterday. Formal maybe is coming down today. Should be a significant step up, well not only in terms of the practice quality for OpTic Chicago, but also maybe in terms of some of the content they were able to put out with what they could do with these guys now down there in that region. So pretty cool to see, and of course they'll all be playing from the same facility in the online matches as we talked about a while ago now. Also yesterday was Attach's birthday. Happy 24th birthday. This guy still looks like 18. I don't understand. He's like a vampire. I think people were saying in the comment section of some videos like this guy never ages. But again, this of course is famous 1v3 artillery against OpTic Gaming way back in the day here in stage 1 and playoffs in Call of Duty World War II. Probably a play we'll have to revisit on this channel at some point. And as he says, all I want for my birthday is ranked play. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we have had that as of yet, but is coming soon, I believe. So OpTic Chicago said a few days ago the fact that these matches effectively were decided ahead of time for the storylines that they were creating. So the Minnesota launch weekend last time around, it was January 24th to 26th. I still believe we're going to get something of the sorts this time around, even though it's only a couple of weeks away. So I'm hoping there's going to be some announcements in the coming days on this. But of course, because it's not in person, they don't have to announce as early as they did last time around because people actually won't be attending from the fan side. But if we do have another launch weekend, the way it went last time is every team flew out and they just played 2 effectively league matches just to kick things off and get the ball rolling for the season before we went into the proper home series kind of tournaments throughout the season. Of course, this time around, we've got 5 stages. Each stage has 3 home series and then 1 major kind of championship grand final thing on the final weekend of the stage. And then we have a week off or so and then into the next stage once again. But in the preseason, there's probably going to be some launch weekends potentially. And if that is the case, there'll probably be a similar idea where if you win a match, you get 10 points and it, does tally towards your end of season standings, right? And obviously the home series make most of the difference. But as we're going to look at in a second here with reference to Call of Duty League 2020, those early couple of points that these teams got actually could have made a difference in the long haul, right? And if things had gone a little bit differently on that launch weekends, things may have looked very different indeed, right? So only 20 points at the time, but over the course of the season, that actually does make quite a significant impact as we're going to look at here in a second. But I'll just share the clip of what they have to say and Hector's idea of maybe bringing some sort of lottery into the CDL as opposed to just choosing these matchups based on, what will be the best storyline.
I know that you're driving hype for the league and these matchups and these things. Like the fact, I think that would be a really dope idea. Anyway, they do the draft. It's not a draft. It's a lottery where balls, it's like bingo, balls drop. It's like, oh, the OpTic Gaming logo, cool. He goes here, group A, group B, group B. And then they go into it and they match up and they leave it up to luck. I think that's better than forcing OpTic to play 100 Thieves because 100 Thieves just saying they want to be like, oh, Nation used to be an OpTic and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, for the storylines.
Or to put FaZe against Empire.
We played Dallas in our first match of the year.
When?
This year. They did that on purpose.
No, did we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dallas or Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
That was the...
Wait.
Yeah.
LAN.
And then OpTic right after. Right?
Huh?
LAN, yeah.
Yeah, LAN. Miss that.
So what did you say? So you say you're 3?
So these were the matchups at the launch weekend last season. I think we're going to get something similar this season around the 22nd of January, or at least on that weekend, maybe just a couple of days, depending exactly how they want to do it. But who knows if it's going to be the same format. But last season, as you can see, there were 2 matches played. Every team played 2 matches. And the matchups that the teams played were certainly not random, right? Like, you can look at this and have a look at some of the key matchups and definitely tell that these were decided deliberately so that they created the best possible storylines. I mean, obviously, we've got the top corner here we'll look at in a second. But you've also got, like, Paris versus London, right? Which I imagine they want to continue with this year, especially with the scrap storyline right now. Then you've got, I suppose, Surge versus Florida, a kind of battle of the deep, like the sea, kind of a branding situation. Maybe wanted to go down that line. But really where it gets interesting, of course, you look at the top left, right? You look at Chicago Huntsmen, they played against the Dallas Empire, the Scump versus Crimsix rivalry, all that drama that had gone down in the preseason. They also played against OpTic Gaming Los Angeles, right? Chicago versus old OpTic, new OpTic, that kind of fake OpTic, real OpTic type of discussion. That, of course, was played into at the launch weekend. Chicago came out on top. They won 3-1 against Dallas. They won 3-0 against OpTic Gaming, so it worked out very well for them. And FaZe also played the Dallas Empire, right? But you look at the Dallas Empire and you feel like they were kind of hard done by, right? Like they had to come into this weekend, play up against Atlanta FaZe, play up against Chicago Huntsmen, the two best teams in the game at the time in a LAN environment, that went on to win the next two events at the London home series where Atlanta wasn't there, and then at the Atlanta home series, Atlanta won when Chicago wasn't there. So those were the two best teams on LAN at the time. Dallas had to play both of them because they were the best storylines. But okay, who's the best team in the game? Is it FaZe? Is it Dallas? Early on was the discussion online, and then obviously Chicago come in and do a very good job as well. And of course, all the storylines made sense to dig into. But if you're a Dallas fan, you're thinking, damn, we went 0-2 this weekend with a 1-6 map count, but a team like Minnesota Rokkr comes out and 3-1's Los Angeles Guerrillas, 3-1's Toronto Ultra, and they get their 6-2 record on the weekend, right? And obviously those matchups, those points over time, do have an impact, as we'll look at it right at the end of the season. Atlanta FaZe here on 280 points, Dallas Empire on 260. So that launch weekend, like those 20-point margins, right, and Chicago Huntsmen and Florida Mutineers were tied right here. And of course, the point standings were very tight down here as well, right? If Minnesota Rokkr maybe hadn't had such an easy run of it, they might have even dropped down to, bottom 4 or something, even though they were a very good team at the time. So don't, let me take that away from them. But as you can see, the point distributions, this opening weekend, Dallas got 0, FaZe got 20, a number of teams getting 0 here, and some teams getting 10, of course, and well, having a difficult time bouncing back through the rest of the season. And especially if you're a team like Seattle Surge, Los Angeles Guerrillas, those 10 points the Los Angeles Guerrillas got beating Florida Mutineers at this opening weekend actually had a pretty significant impact on their overall season, right? Because they only got 50 points right to the end of it. So certainly these opening weekend matches can have an impact on the course of the season, and the fact that they're being decided effectively on what storyline makes the most sense is, well, a bit of a questionable one. And I'm sure the teams aren't necessarily too happy about this. Clayster said this, way back in 2013, I just found this tweet up, but maybe the brackets are rigged for drama, which is kind of what's going on here almost, right? And of course, we did get a fair bit of drama, right? As you can see in this tweet right here, Scump versus Crimsix, Chicago versus Dallas as it was at the time, was a fantastic matchup. But as I say, you kind of feel for Dallas, the fact that they had to play the two best teams on LAN in the game at the time, when other teams were getting an easier run. Of course, they did go on to win the World Championship, but I'm just saying that things could have gone significantly differently here. And there's, of course, a balance between getting all these fantastic storylines and maintaining competitive integrity. So as Clayster says at the time, we're not even that bad, meaning Dallas, because we're 3-4, but 3 of our losses are to Chicago and 1 is to FaZe, right, because of that opening launch weekend. All while 2 of our players are playing their first COD Pro LANs and learning respawn. Progress takes time, right? He said this in February, went on to win the World Championship, of course, with this team a few months later, but things could have been certainly very different, and who knows whether those opening launch weekends points could have affected seeding later down the line, and they may do again this season, given how tight we imagine this season is going to be. So certainly some question marks as to exactly, how the CDL deal with this going forward, right? Do they decide, okay, like, screw it, we're just going to choose the best storylines once again, and make OpTic play Dallas, and make OpTic play Los Angeles Thieves, and then make whatever matches they think will make the most sense for the storyline sides, but then maybe they're screwing over teams, giving them harder matches than they would get if it were randomly drawn, or if it were drawn based on seeding from last season, or something like that. So maybe the teams are going to the CDL and saying, this is what we would like you to do, but the CDL, they definitely have their heads screwed on in the sense that they do like to promote the storylines, but should that be prioritized over competitive integrity for the teams? That is, certainly an interesting discussion, and maybe a balance that should be had, given that, of course, the fans and the storylines are the crux of the community. Just to finish off with a couple of interesting things, aBeZy says this, Alec, that being Arcitys, has been playing on 60Hz in the game the whole time, even though he has a 240Hz monitor. He thought you only had to change it in the PC settings. Bit of a disaster from Arcitys, but maybe FaZe are going to get even better as a result of this one. I also thought I'd finish off with this that came out from Powered by Whale Oil, who made this graphic back in 8 years ago or so now, and this is a real trip down memory lane, some of these images right here. I'll just make sure this is fitting on screen. So at the time, these were the teams effectively at the high level. You had Complexity, Aches, Crimsix, TP, and Karma, the Envy squad of Merc, Parasite, Nameless, and Study as it was at the time, then OpTic Gaming, which was Nature, Clayster, Scumpy, and Proofy, and then OpTic, OpTic Nation here, which was Embo's, Killer, Miracles, and Ricky. What a team that was. Team Caliber, Sharp, Gunja, Apathy, Neslo, Strictly Business with Stainville, Methods, Spacely, and John. So not too many of these players still there at the highest level anymore. A few of them, of course, have gone on to be coaches and general managers and stuff like that, like Burns and Murdoch, as you can see right here on the Curse teams, and JCab, of course, now over at the Los Angeles Thieves. Replays on this FaZe team at the time, now coaching Atlanta FaZe. Classic on this team, still on the Paris Legion. Theory here, of course, also coaching the Paris Legion. So certainly these guys have stayed around the scene. Then we've got the FaZe Black team of Censor, Saints, Formal, and Dido. What a squad that was. I mean, those are some real mishmash of names. names. And then you had Curse Orange, Curse Black, Mudog, Miyagi, Attach, and Crowstar, Burns, Machilla, Enable, and Tipsy. I mean, some absolutely legendary names right here, I'm sure. Some of these ring a bell for you guys, and if not, well, hopefully we'll be able to do some more content on the channel, taking trips down memory lane at some time or another. Intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below on all this stuff we talked about today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. Really helps out the YouTube algorithm to know you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and help grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always, take care, and I will see you next time.